Hello, Cotton.
Wait, Nata, you're still alive?
Yes, I've just been sitting at this tent for the last 10 months or so.
I know a few other people like that. Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, Monster Hunter Wilds has had a bit of a roller coaster of a life so far for a number of reasons. But the thing that I really want to focus in on is just exactly how much it has changed, how many things have been added in the post-release cycle for this game. I know a bunch of people who still play the game daily, I know people who just come back for a few days after each update, and I know people who either just played the base game at launch, maybe stuck around for the first title update at most, then decided to drop the game entirely and haven't been back since. And that last group there is who I want to talk to directly today to answer a simple question. Is it worth it for you to return and play Monster Hunter Wilds now in the start of 2026? If the last time you played was like nearly a year ago and around the initial launch of the game, you've missed quite a lot. If you wanted my biased personal opinion, yeah, absolutely, I love this game, you probably should play it. But instead of just saying that, we'll go over all the stuff that has been added and changed since the launch, and then you can use that knowledge to decide if playing the game again is the right choice for you. Starting off with a more overarching concept than weapon changes. Every title update and even some of the patches in between title updates have come with some manner of weapon changes. Some weapons have seen changes pretty much every patch, others have just gotten a few very specific changes over time, and some of them have even gotten major mechanical changes, such as Hammer getting 2 more attacks that now count as an offset, and also gaining an offset follow-up attack, making it feel like a much more well-rounded moveset than it was at the launch of the base game. Insect Glaive can now do descending slash with a set input rather than having to hold down an awkward button to charge the attack while using normal moves, and it feels way better to play that weapon as well now with that change. And for an example of less purely mechanical changes, Switch Axe's balancing has changed so that there are multiple viable combos and ways of playing instead of just spamming full release slash on repeat endlessly. And Charge Blade's super amped element discharge builds have a really decent use case in element builds now too. Honestly, no matter which weapon you main, you'll probably find that it feels better or that there is more viable variety than it had at launch. And for some of them, the difference is pretty massive, honestly. If you are interested in trying out a different weapon than your main before and it just didn't quite click then, maybe that weapon will click now. And in my opinion, trying new weapons is one of the greatest ways to find more enjoyment in a Monster Hunter game, as every monster feels a little bit different depending on the weapon that's in your hands. It just changes how the fight actually plays out, and that's something that I've always loved about this series. Outside of weapons then, there have also of course been a bunch of new monsters. Things added since launch of the game include the high rank version of Zoshia, which is an awesome fight, Mizitsune, who is an incredible returning monster with some really solid moveset and fight changes in Wilds, Legiacris, who hadn't had a modern game returning version yet, but now does, and it's a great interpretation of him as a monster, especially in a game that does not have underwater combat. Sorekios, who is genuinely one of my favorite fights in the whole game, just super high paced, high intensity, and a mostly physical moveset, which makes it incredibly fun for weapons that have offset attacks. And then we had the Final Fantasy crossover with Omega as a very unique fight in the game, and especially the Savage Omega Quest version, which is probably still the most challenging fight in the game, though now made it a little bit easier if you have equipment from Title Update 4, which has happened since then. But that is an incredible challenge to test yourself against if you are one of the people who stopped playing this game because you just thought it was too easy at launch. Then there was also Gogmazios added in the most recent title update, the only Elder Dragon that is in Wild so far, and an absolutely incredible rendition of this 4th generation monster, completely reworked to fit the modern games while still staying faithful to the concepts of the original fight, just revamping them to make them bigger, bolder, and more impactful and in your face. Outside of that, we now have an arch-tempered version of every Apex monster that has actual moveset changes, some of them affecting the entire fight pretty massively too, like Raidou gets aftershocks on a lot of its attacks now, and they're all a lot of fun in my opinion too. And there's some sort of extra arch-tempered surprise coming to the game in a few weeks as well, though I'm trying to stay blind to that myself, as I like experiencing these things myself in the game. Past those specifically, there are also 8-star tempered quest versions of a lot of the tougher monsters in the game, as 1 level of bonus difficulty, and even more 8-star tempered variations through event quests when those are active. They also added 9-star tempered quest versions of tougher monsters too, which require HR 100 to take part in, but they reward talismans that roll with RNG, which is just an entirely new endgame grind system that was added in the post-launch content, so a much higher challenge level of monster with an actual thing to grind, a proper tangible reward if you want reward-based incentive to do more hunting. But I'd say a really smart thing about these talismans too is that even for a perfectly rolled talisman, the most they tend to give, even on the weapons that they most affect, is like 5% more damage compared to a crafted talisman, and that difference has gone down a fair bit more since Title Update 4 adding Agitator 3 charms. And that is just sort of in the perfect spot where you aren't losing too much if you don't don't have a perfect talisman, but it's still enough value to give an incentive to farm just on the off chance that you happen to get a perfect talisman. Like the new 8-star tempered quests I talked about before, there are also some event quest specific 9-star tempereds in the rotation too, and some of them are actually really fun too. Like 9-star tempered Ajaricon completely changed my opinion of that fighting monster and made me appreciate him way more in comparison to his weaker versions. On the note of larger endgame system upgrades, with Title Update 4 and gogmazios, they also added the Gogma Artian weapon system, which is basically an upgrade to the original Artian endgame weapon system. And before you groan about everyone having to use big hunks of green metal, not only do these look much cooler because they're gogmazios weapons, but also they added layered weapons back to the game in Title Update 2, so you can make your weapons look like any crafted weapon that you like without needing to have that weapon's actual stats. That said, what makes the Gogma Artian weapon special, aside from just being able to get notably higher numbers than the normal Artian weapons can, is first, they solve a lot of issues that base Artian weapons had for some things, like bow only getting close range coating on a couple of elements. That's no longer a thing with the Gogma Artian weapons because of how they work. And then second, the Gogma Artian weapons have 2 slots that essentially count as part of a set bonus and a part of a group bonus. So if you want to have gore magala 2 set bonus, for example, you can now make that happen with only one piece of gore magala armor equipped, and then also having that bonus come from the weapon itself. Same thing goes for group bonuses, though that is mostly just used for Lord Soul, the exclusive group bonus from arch-tempered monsters that gives you the guts effect and an attack increase until you trigger it, which makes it highly desirable in most endgame builds. That said, the system has a buttload of RNG to it, and getting a weapon with both bonuses the way that you want them to be can take hundreds of rolls if you're not lucky with it. So like the talismans, I would view this as a fun thing to work towards, and if it happens, it happens. If you get a partial step, you can upgrade your build, and the fun thing with these is that they can just fully change what builds you can make, because some set or group bonuses showing up on your weapon just enable new combinations of armor or skills, and from a buildcraft perspective, that has been a lot of fun, a real extra layer of complexity for the people who like that kind of stuff. As well, they added armor transcendence as a mechanic system, which is also fantastic for build crafting too, as it not only lets lower rarity armor hit comparable defense numbers to rarity 8 armor, so you are no longer defensively punished for using it, but also it specifically adds decoration slots to rarity 5 and rarity 6 armor more so than they previously had, and it's a big enough impact that there are quite a few meta builds that now use rarity 6 armor pieces, depending on your weapon type, of course. Past that, if you weren't even around for Title Update 1, you would have missed the addition of the Grand Hub, which is our proper hub area. It has a bunch of fun NPCs and interaction. The diva sings at night sometimes, and there's even barrel bowling as a minigame, which is something I absolutely love that they put in here. They added side quests that unlock things like being able to change Alma's glasses. There was a Street Fighter collaboration which included the Akuma armor set and the Akuma moveset, which is an interactable item that essentially works like a bonus weapon you can use, albeit much less effectively than the main 14, but still, I have seen people kill even gogmazios purely with the Akuma fist weapon moveset, and I love that that's a thing, and I love that there are people committed to it enough to do things like that. They've also pretty much phased out the barbecue grill meal system for the most part and replaced it with the feasts, which now have a much longer timer on them as well, and there are farmable sources for the meal tickets too, so the food system feels a lot better now in my opinion, unless you're playing bow, in which case you might still be using grilled meals because you need mushrooms for stamina management, and there have been a massive amount of quality of life changes across the board past that all stuff as well. On the note of performance and optimization, the game has improved a fair amount since release. It's still not perfect, there are some larger issues that still need to be dealt with, but I know a number of people who said the game was unplayable for them at launch, who have at various stages since then been able to start properly enjoying the game because it has started working enough that they've been able to play it and enjoy it. So if you own the game but haven't played it in a while because of performance reasons, it might be worth opening it up, giving it another go just to see if it's fixed up enough for you to properly get what you want out of it. For the most part though, the thing that I really want to hammer home for people who have not played in months and months and months is the different feeling of 9-star tempered hunts, arch-tempered monsters, and the monsters from the last couple of updates. Occasionally I'll hunt a regular base difficulty monster just to remind myself of what base wilds feels like, wounds coming up on the monster all the time, free focus strikes constantly to avoid damage and get free knockdowns, and I know that turned a fair few people away because it just felt cheesy and gimmicky and way too easy when wounds and focus strikes were that frequent a part of hunting. And especially with the hunts being so short, it just felt like it really trivialized stuff. Well, with all the more recent additions, the 9-star monsters especially, wounds are very infrequent in comparison to what they are in the base versions of monsters. The quests last much longer in comparison as well, and in general the flow just feels a lot more like previous Monster Hunter games compared to the early game quests and wilds and the early endgame monsters too. It essentially feels like everything under 8-star is like training wheels, 8-star is a bit of a step up for sure, and then 9-star in the recent title update monsters have been a much larger step, especially things like, again, Omega and Savage Omega is a real genuine challenge. And so I want to emphasize that if the reason you stopped playing wilds was because you thought the game was just too easy, the developers have put in a lot lot of effort to specifically counter people that have that issue with it. The easy stuff still exists for the people who enjoy chill hunting, but there are now multiple extra layers of difficulty and some genuinely quite challenging fights for the people who think that was missing before. Also, you can have a Geladron replace your head, or just sit on your back while a Woodwood rides on your head, pointing you in the direction that it wants you to run. Actually, on second thought, the entire rest of this video until now, that doesn't matter. It's unimportant. The only thing you need to know is that these silly armor pieces are possible and they're incredible. Though I should mention that the Geladron event quest is not currently available, but the Woodwood helmet event quest is up right now. So if you need an incentive to open the game right at this moment, I can't think of a better one than to get yourself this little guy. That just about does it for today, everyone. Essentially just a discussion of how much stuff and what specifically has been added to Monster Hunter Wilds since its first couple of months, with the intention of talking about everything important and phrasing it nice and concisely so those of you who have not played this game in ages can work out if now is a good time for you to do so. Or hey, maybe if you haven't jumped into the game yet at all and just wanted to see what has changed since launch, this could be the push that you need to give it a try now. I don't know. Honestly, I hope this gets more people to play Wilds because I love the game personally, but again, the point was just to say, this is what's changed, this is what's been going on, and you can make the final decision for yourself. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and feel free to share in the comments down below your experiences with these updates to Wilds for anyone if you're someone who has been along the whole ride as well. Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.